Hello everybody, I'm John. This is JP Strategic Investments, and today I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on Patriot One Technologies, kind of what I'm seeing with the stock. We've had some recent news, a webinar today, and so just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on what I'm seeing, and as well as an update that there will be, it looks like, another interview with Peter Evans coming, so I'm definitely excited about that. We've got a little bit more information from some of the webinars, so kind of have some more questions and things to go over. Hopefully we'll get some nice insights, as we always do, from interviews with Peter. That should be hopefully coming next week, but as we all know, Peter is very busy right now, so schedules are kind of flexible, but hopefully next week we'll have that interview out, have some more information. That will be nice. Other than that, what I'm kind of seeing with the stock right now, obviously, we have the big thing that we just recently got is this info on short interest, and we had a dramatic drop in short interest. We almost have probably the lowest number of shares shorted that maybe we've seen in 2 years or so. You know, you can see 697 back here right now. We're at about 669,000 shares that are actually short. And the net change, we dropped by about 31 or 3.1 million shares. Or in other words, really over 3/4 of the shares that were short as of the last 2-week period, basically as of March 14th, have now all been bought back. And I had some people asking, you know, how can the stock really not move with all of those shares being bought back? And part of the answer is really, well, the stock actually did move. You know, while we are kind of used to these larger moves fairly often with Patriot One, that still doesn't mean that they aren't large moves. I mean, you had pretty much from March 14th, which is right here, so the stock finished down at about 50 cents Canadian here. We had about 3 moves up almost 15%, right? And so all of this, you know, is plenty of room to buy back, and then you can buy into the selling, and then you can buy it back up again, buy a little bit into the selling, buy back up again. Obviously we have this long wick here in this candle, so there's plenty of room for those shares to have been bought back. Obviously, yeah, it is a little disappointing that, you know, that large of a buyback didn't cause the stock to move even higher, but, you know, it's not impossible for that amount of shares to be bought during this type of movement in the stock. Now, one more thing, and then we'll kind of get back to the movement of the stock. We did get a grant of options that was filed just yesterday, and so this is either probably one of two things, either just a form of stock-based compensation that is kind of built into basically built into Karen's salary, or this could be, and obviously this is what we hope it is, this could be a milestone that is potentially reached with the financials in the company, and that will kind of trigger a grant of a certain amount of options there. So hopefully that's what we're looking at. Hopefully we're, you know, reaching certain milestones with backlog or things like that. But this also could just be, you know, something that's already pre-built into our contract that really doesn't have anything to do with the actual performance of the company. But just kind of wanted to briefly give my thoughts on that. Now, as far as what we're seeing with the stock right now, you know, we're seeing kind of the same thing with the US version as well as PAT, the main kind of Canadian exchange that Patriot One trades on. And it's a little easier to see on PAT here. We're kind of being pinned between this 50-day moving average as well as this kind of trend line here that we're seeing at the bottom. You can see it pretty much aligns with where Patriot One dipped after. This is the Inspector General contract. We got this really big candle on that day, really big upward move. The stock kind of corrected a little bit down, consolidated, and then bounced and continued upward. We had different webinars and other announcements in here, but we still are staying on that trend line. So the stock is still in basically an upward trend here that we're seeing, and it's kind of being pinned on the upside again by this 50-day moving average. And we're seeing the same thing with PTOTF. And so really, I would imagine until we get some major news, we'll probably see the stock kind of continue to work its way within this channel, right? As long as the stock stays relatively in the same direction, that 50-day moving average will pretty much stay roughly in the same direction. It'll probably start to come down just a little bit towards the midpoint of this range, which might force a little bit of kind of consolidation here. But once we get to this kind of 60-cent resistance line, that's probably where we're either going to see the stock break upwards or break downwards. And I would say basically whether the stock breaks upward or downward kind of depends on whether we get some big good news or whether we don't. Basically, if before this trend line meets this 60-cent horizontal, which would be in about mid-May is kind of where it ends there. If before that time we get some good news, we get, major contract win, an announcement as far as DHS Safety Act, or maybe other earnings that show an increase in contracted revenue, something like that, then most likely we're going to see the stock break upwards like we see here out of this kind of channel above this resistance line and probably gravitate somewhere around this 70-cent resistance line. Again, this is on the Canadian exchange, PAT, right? Not looking at PTOTF like I kind of normally do on this channel. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that. Now, if we don't get any major news, if we just kind of don't hear a lot, nothing really happens, then, we could definitely see this other version where the stock kind of breaks down and could kind of gravitate back towards this support line that we have here around 47 cents or possibly around 50 cents. Stocks like to gravitate kind of towards those whole numbers there. So really, I think it kind of just depends on what news we get over the next month or so. And Peter did kind of hint at on the last interview that I had with him when I asked a question about the sample size of customers that we're seeing announced. He did make a comment. He kind of was answering the question, but he stopped in the beginning and he said, we're going to make it kind of a priority to try to announce at least one contract win per month. Now, again, that's kind of dependent on how many contracts they're actually winning and whether they're actually allowed to announce those contracts. But theoretically, if they do stick with that, then we should get another major contract announcement before the kind of end of this channel here. And so hopefully we'll get that, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, next week should have another interview with Peter out. We should get a lot of good information from that interview. Other than that, I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, hit that like button. Leave any questions down in the comments below. Other than that, I will see you guys next time and have a great day.